people here have heard of the artist Diego Rivera. Not that many, I see. Well, today I'm going to be discussing about the artist who painted his way through Mexico. Hi, my name is Amy Solorzano, and today I will be discussing the artist Diego Rivera. I will inform you about his early life, two of his most famous murals, and lastly, his influence on the world of art. So let's begin by discussing Diego Rivera's early years. To get a better idea of who Diego Rivera was, we will be discussing both his childhood and his teenage years. Diego Rivera and his twin brother were born on December 8, 1886. They grew up in Guanajuato, Mexico, and according to contemporary Hispanic biography, Diego Rivera's full name is Diego Maria Rivera. Sadly, Diego Rivera's twin died at only 14 months, but Diego Rivera continued and showed his love for art at an early age. He began to draw as soon as he could grip a pencil, and he is stated saying that his earliest memory is that of drawing. According to the St. James Encyclopedia, he began to study art at the age of 10. In 1906, he had his first exhibit where he caught the attention of Governor Veracruz. Veracruz was so impressed by Diego Rivera that he arranged for him to study art in Europe. Now that we talked about Diego Rivera's childhood, let's talk a bit about his teenage years. Diego Rivera landed in Madrid at a famous artist studio where he studied art but didn't produce much art during his time there. Although he didn't produce much art, he did master his technique at his time there. And in 1909, he moved to Paris where he started a long relationship with Angela Beloff, and this relationship lasted 12 years. According to contemporary Hispanic biography, Diego Rivera was in Spain when World War I broke out. During this time, his art gained a lot of prominence, and he participated in Cubist perspective. But by 1917, he gave up on the Cubist revolution. You can tell by this that Diego Rivera's early life and teenage years were very hectic, but all of these experiences shaped him to become the artist that he was. Now that I discussed Diego Rivera's early life, let's focus our attention on two of his most famous murals. To better understand, let's focus on two of his most famous pieces. And I will begin with Dream of a Sunday Afternoon in Almenda Central. This mural was painted between 1946 and 1947. It's located in Mexico City's first park, which is Almenda Central. And according to Diego Rivera's official site, it represents the history of Mexico. From left to right, you can see a lot of Mexico's history. It starts with the conquest on the left, in the middle, the Portofino, and lastly, the Mexican Revolution. Diego Rivera wanted to represent the history of Mexico through his mural. Now let's discuss his second mural, The Flower Carrier. This was created in 1935. It displays a peasant man and his wife trying to help him carry the flowers on his back. The peasant man and his wife don't see the beautiful flowers, but they only see the value that the flowers have and how much money they can gain from it. According to the Diego Rivera official website, the mural represents society. Rivera portrays Mexico's working class in this mural, and it's a symbolic portrayal of the untrained worker in a capitalistic world. As you can see from these two art pieces, he liked to depict the life and struggles of the Mexican working man in his murals. Now that we've discussed who he was as an artist, let's talk about how he influenced art. According to the Art Society, Diego influenced many artists and also started an art movement. Mortarity talks about how he influenced Frida Kahlo. Frida Kahlo was much younger than him, which meant that he influenced her in a number of ways. Diego Rivera was very impressed by her technique and her impression of art and how she expressed herself through her art. He also encouraged her to paint more folk and indigenous styles such as he did in his paintings, and because they were so close and at one point married, they included each other in a lot of their paintings. Not only did he influence people, but he influenced a muralist movement. According to Art Story, he was part of the Mexico muralist movement. This promoted pride and nationalism after the Mexican Revolution. This brought back muralism from its retirement, and the movement played a heavy predecessor of today's public art. It also made art accessible and free, since all these murals were painted on famous buildings and all over Mexico, so many people can see all his art. Diego Rivera was a great asset to the Mexican muralist movement and influences many artists such as Frida Kahlo. From Diego Rivera's childhood, he was always loved art. His passion led him to become a great muralist, and he is recognized as such decades later after his death. Today I discussed Diego Rivera. I informed you about his early life, his art, and who he influenced. In conclusion, Diego Rivera was a great muralist who came from a Mexican working class family, and later on became one of Mexico's most beloved muralists. To this day, he is recognized as one of Mexico's greatest muralists, and this proves that if you really love what you do and you're passionate for it, you can accomplish anything you put your mind to. This has been my speech on Diego Rivera. Thank you for listening.